In this video, we will be integrating the popular table framework Airtable with Databricks. The objective is to obtain data from an Airtable into a PySpark data frame. I have here an empty notebook in which we would like to see the final data of this table in Airtable. So my Airtable is relatively simple. It contains grades, so results for different university courses for two students, Alice and Bob. So Alice has 2 grades for geography and chemistry, a 6 and a 7 respectively, whereas Bob has only 1 grade for the math. Now, the framework that we will use to accomplish this is called pyAirtable, which we will install in our notebook right now. So I can execute this command with pip install. And given that I have already done this on this cluster before, the installation will complete quickly. For you, it may take a bit longer. Then, if we now look at the next step in this framework, is that we have to authenticate from Python, so from Databricks, with Airtable. And the way to do this is by generating a so-called personal access token. To do that, we go to our Airtable interface, we go to account, we go to account, and then here you see under the API field that we can go to the developer hub, which allows to create API keys, which are deprecated. We will create a personal access token instead by going on create token. And then I think I already have a token here, so let me quickly delete this one. And I will do this again. So I can create a token. I will call this token, let's say, grades, so that I know that it relates to my grades table. The scope, so the permissions, what this token can do is I want to limit this scope to read only. So with this token, we will only be able to read data, but not write it. Then the scope has been set. Finally, I will add a base to which I want to give this token access. Now I have 2 bases, numbers and grades, but this token should only have access to the grades table, which is this one here. So I can now go ahead and create this token, and this will show me the secret value in chat. I will copy it for now and use later in our Databricks notebook. Alright, returning to the next part, to the quick start, we see that the way the code works is that we get the API key from an environment variable or something else. Now Databricks offers its own way to manage secrets, and that is by creating and using Databricks secrets. So let's execute this in our Databricks notebook. Alright, I'm back in my Databricks notebook where we have installed the package. I will now create a secret in Databricks to store the personal access token value. For this, I create a new secret scope as per this tutorial. That can be done by the command Databricks secrets create scope and then our name. So I will say Databricks secrets create scope, and let's call the scope Airtable with a lowercase. Alright, that scope has now been created. The next step is to add a secret to this scope, and you do this with the command put secret. So again, I say Databricks secrets put secret. Yeah, and then the first word we use will be the scope we just created, so Airtable. And the second one will be the name of the secret, which should be grades personal access token. And when I do this, I will be prompted for the secret value, which I copied earlier when I was creating that personal access token in the Airtable developer interface. So I can paste it there. Yep, there we go. And this means that I should be able to now use this secret in my Databricks notebook. Let's give it a try. So I will call this the grades personal access token. I will get it from dbutils secrets get, and indeed I will get it from the scope Airtable, and the key will be the grades personal access token. Alright, that seems to have worked. Now we have our secret configured, which means that we can now show you the rest of the code in the pyAirtable quick start. So if I copy this code here, I see that I first instantiate an API instance. Instead of getting the value from the environment, we get it from the dbutils secrets. So I can reuse that here. And then to get the actual table using the API, we have to get the base ID and the table ID of our grades Airtable. And you can get them simply from the URL. The base ID is this value here. I'll copy that there. And the table ID is the value that comes afterwards. You can easily recognize them by the table ID starting with DBL and the base ID starting with app. So I can copy the table ID here. And then if I execute the all method, we should see the final results of the table printed in Databricks. Right, that seems to have worked. I indeed see that I have the 3 rows of the Airtable along with additional information such as ID and created time. Now we don't really care about this metadata, so what we want to do is we want to only retrieve the data that from these fields, because we are going to use this data to construct a PySpark data frame. So let's begin by creating a empty list for the data, and then for every row in table all, so for every instance of this JSON object, we will append the row value, but only the fields, which means only this value here. So let's see what data would look like after this operation. Indeed, we see now that we have a list of dictionaries for name, course, and grade. The final step in the workflow is to convert this list into a proper PySpark data frame. And for this, we will have to define the schema of this PySpark data frame. To do this, we need to import a few additional libraries. From the PySpark SQL types library, we will gonna need the struct field, the struct type. We will need a string type for the name and the course name, and the integer type for the grade. So that should be enough. Now we can construct the schema for our PySpark data frame, which will be a struct, a combination of multiple types. And the things that we will have will be a 3 struct fields. One will be a string type for the name, the other one will be a string type for the course, and the grade will be an integer. Right, so let's see if we can now, let's wait with this for now. So this will be our schema. And finally, once we have the schema, we can indeed create the data frame using the data we created here and the schema we defined in this cell. So if I would then create this data frame and display it at the end, I would expect that we can get a nice table similar to the one we see in our grades Airtable. We can try to alter the chemistry grade for Alice. So instead of a 7, we'll give Alice a 9, which means that if we then re-execute our notebook, we should obtain a new score for Alice's chemistry course, which will be a 9. So that's it for this video. Remember, the steps we took was to first install the pyAirtable library. We created a personal access token for this particular grades table, where we specified the scope and the table this token has access to. To prevent hard coding the value of our personal access token in a Databricks notebook, we leveraged Databricks secrets to obtain the value from a particular secret scope. And finally, once we had the data in our notebook by running the al method, we realized that we had to first convert it into a PySpark data frame by getting only the data we required, which was the fields variable. And then we also had to define the schema of our data frame in PySpark. And finally, we managed to use them both the data and the schema to create a data frame which we have displayed in the end. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.